August 26, 2018. Rewriting Our Future. Reverend Dr. Janet Kingsley. Given at Unity of Payson, Arizona.
Have you ever told a white lie? So let me know if I need to have the microphone. Have you ever told a white lie? I've never told a white lie. Alice Grayson had moved to Tuscaloosa not in the too distant past. And she was due to bake a cake for the Tuscaloosa Ladies Society bake sale.
Make sure you want to turn it on, or is your mic off?
I don't know. I could turn it the other way. Nothing, no light is on. So I could stand behind it.
I hear her.
Hello?
Yeah,
You're on now.
Yeah, there.
Okay, cool.
Turn the other one off.
Alice Grayson. Okay, so, but the thing is, she forgot about the bake sale till almost it was the last minute. So it was the morning of the bake sale, and she was busy getting dressed for work, getting her son prepared to go off to scout camp, when she remembered about the bake sale. So she rummaged through her cupboards, and she found an angel cake food mix. So she put the angel cake in the oven to cook while she's getting ready, and when she pulls it out, the cake just kind of sunk in the middle. Well, she wants to make a good impression, right? This is her entry, if you will, to the Ladies Society in Tuscaloosa. So she searched around her house and how she could fix, she got creative. How can I fix this cake? And she found the solution in her bathroom. A roll of toilet paper. So she put the roll of toilet paper right in the middle, and she covered it with frosting. And the cake looked phenomenal. It looked superb. But, so before she went off to work, she woke up her daughter Amanda, gave her some money, and told Amanda to get to the bake sale at 9:30, right when it opened, and buy back this cake. Well, lo and behold, when Amanda gets to the bake sale, said cake is sold. So she calls her mom on the cell phone to give her the bad news. And needless to say, Alice is beside herself. She's horrified. They're going to make fun of her. They're going to talk about her behind her back. They're going to know what happened. She couldn't get over it. She couldn't even sleep that night. She was so distraught. She wakes up the next morning and she's determined to put this out of her mind the best that she could. And in fact, there was a combination bridal shower, fancy luncheon happening with that Tuscaloosa Baptist Church Ladies Society. She didn't really want to go because, they were a little upper crust, and some of them were a little snobby and giving her a hard time because she was a single mom and not from the founding families of Tuscaloosa. But she couldn't find a reason. She'd already RSVP'd, and she couldn't really find a good reason to say no. So off she goes. Well, for sure, this bridal shower combination lunch was a fancy affair, and with high society, and the food was delicious and served by servants. And then came dessert. And to her horror, the cake in question was served. The color just drained from her face. She's getting ready to get out of her chair to go to the hostess, who was one of those snobs who kind of put her down, to tell her. When the mayor's wife piped up and said to the hostess, "OMG, what a gorgeous cake." To which this hostess replied, "Why, thank you. I baked it myself." At which point, Alice sat back into her chair and said, "God is good." So God is good, right? In the midst of chaos, God is good. In the midst of financial turmoil, God is good. In the midst of problems and failures and setbacks, God is good. And by good, I don't mean human good, good as opposed to bad. I mean that God is God, the divine, whatever, like if you don't like the G word, interpret whatever it is pleasant for you. But God is always God. Spirit is always spirit doing its thing. It is always acting, it is always creating based on the input we give it. So it is always doing its thing. So God itself, spirit, the divine, infinite intelligence, the creator of all that is, the constantly creator, creating this, is always operating. It's always working. And so it is always good. Always. And so we have the chance in every moment to rewrite our future. The question is, are we rewriting our future from that knowingness of our spiritual connection, our spiritual magnificence, our spiritual awesomeness, or are we rewriting our future based on some unhealed past? That's the question. We have a choice, and God is good, and therefore God will create for us whatever it thinks that we want, and it thinks that we want based on what we're giving our time and attention to. So it doesn't matter. More unhealed past stuff? Check. Or spiritual magnificent stuff? Check. So this morning, you might ask, okay, I want to recreate and rewrite my future coming from a place of spiritual awesomeness, of spiritual magnificence. How would I do that? Reverend Janet, well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you some clues this morning. But Reverend Chris Michaels, he writes this. He says, there is nothing sadder than a life half-lived. Someone who has lived their entire life too afraid to speak their mind and express who they are. Don't be one of them. Take off the mask and trust that what Spirit created you to be is worth being. So we don't want to live half-lived lives, do we? We don't. But it's so easy. It's so easy to be in our comfort zone. It's so easy to settle for what's familiar and what's known. And when we're settling for what's familiar and what's known and the comfort zone, we are not purposefully choosing to rewrite our future based on our spiritual awesomeness. Right? We're just on autopilot. And God is good, and we're going to get more of the same. And more of the same is not to say that our lives are lousy, but they might be a little bit, sometimes deep down. We know that it's half-lived. We know that we want to express more. We know that there's something within us that wants to really experience and express, but we're kind of afraid to step out and be big, to be bold, to be that fist pumper. What are people going to say? Like Alice Grayson. We don't want to be talked about. We don't want to be ridiculed. What if we step out and we're not a success? What if we fall flat on our face? And sometimes we're worried about what other people are going to think. But it isn't really about other people, right? It's easy on the magic stage to say, oh, it's not about what other people think, is it? So we could say no, but sometimes when we're living life, we forget and we think it's about what other people have to say. So this month's topic is about living healthy. I am healthy. And I think a lot of times when, at least for me, I hear the word I am healthy, I immediately think about the body as a healthy body. But being healthy is more than just a healthy body, isn't it? It is a healthy body, but it's also a healthy mind, and it's a healthy soul, it's a healthy spirit. And I'm going to say, because everything is from the inside out, that we need to work on our mental state, our emotional state, our healthy mind, our healthy soul, our healthy spirit, so that we can because God is good, we're going to create this healthy body. So it starts from within. So, how are you going to do that? Okay, so you say, I'm glad you asked. So I have the 3D program, the 3 Ds. So the first one, Betty covered so superbly. I thought, I don't even need to speak. Daily practice, right? So I used to be in a group of women, and we got together every couple of weeks, and we asked ourselves this question: how is it with your soul? So that's a lot deeper than how are things going, what's cooking, how are you doing? How is it with your soul? How are you connecting to the divine? How are you showing up authentically? How is your soul being nourished and fed? Are you content with what you're doing? It was a deep, deep, deep question. So I'm asking you, how is it with your soul? Are you hanging out in that comfort zone, knowing that there's this divine discontent maybe, there's a longing to express more, to be more, but you don't quite, you maybe push it away, you give excuses, you wait for another time, or are you actively doing something to fulfill that, to fulfill your purpose on this planet? The reason that you're here that no one else can do. We all have, and we compare ourselves. If I'm a great singer, which I'm not, but if I was a good singer, right, I'm going to compare myself with all the other good singers, and there's always somebody better. So why should I take lessons and put myself out there? But because my vocal tones, my way of singing is going to speak to certain people. Jim could say, oh, there's a million piano players out there. Why bother writing any new music? Why? Oh, why play Coeur d'Alene or whatever? 7 million people. Because he brings his own soul and his essence to the music that moves people in a different way than just hearing maybe somebody who knows how to play the notes with calculated accuracy, right? Because we're moved, because we want to relate and we're humans to humans. So, do you feed your soul? Do you feed your soul? So a hummingbird flaps its wings like 50 to 80 times a second. I can't even imagine that. Like, in that little bit, it's at 50 times. But so it expends a lot of energy. It needs to eat almost constantly just to keep its energy up so that it can feed itself. So when we're feeding our own soul, we don't maybe need to expend that much energy and eat constantly. But we need to expend energy to feed our soul. That energy could be, so it's a daily practice, could be meditation, could be affirmations, could be listening to music, it could be journaling, it could be reading books, it could be any number of things that we're going to do on a daily basis because we want to build those spiritual muscles so that when the time comes, we're in our element. That we have the tools and the practice and the muscles to feed our soul, to get back to center, to make sure our soul is healthy. So yesterday, just before the concert, I was having a conversation with a member of my family, and it did not go how I wanted it to go at all. And so I thought I was being kind and considerate and caring, and what I got back was feedback that I was selfish, controlling, and, well, you get the gist. I was not in a good way as I walked into this concert last night at 5 o'clock, so luckily I was in the back row. And, and I couldn't get this out of my head. Like, how did it go so wrong? And I'm hitting myself, I'm beating myself up. Well, and you know how I don't know if you do this, but I replay it in my mind. Well, when he said this, I said this. And I didn't really mean it this way. So really, I think what it was later on is like I felt misunderstood. And I hate that. And I felt misunderstood, and I don't know that I could repair it, and I thought I was doing good. And have you ever done something good and it doesn't turn out right? And so I'm like kind of weepy in the back row, and I'm doing a lot of these practices. I did some Ho'oponopono, so I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, and thank you. I was doing some affirmations. I'll get to the second D. I was doing all that. I was, kind of determining to just have the music wash over me so that I could ignore it and have it be healing. And it was finally when you got to the piece on soaring. So in that medley, boom. That piece on soaring, whatever that melody was, kind of healed my soul, and I could physically feel a shift where, like, I was free. And not that I didn't think about it again, because I did, but it was from a much better place, right? So, how do you feed your soul? What can we do to make sure that it's healthy? We can't just hope that, oh, our soul is going to be healthy. It's going to take some work. It's going to take activity and action, right? So, and along with feeding our soul, we need to rest it. We are masters. I'm a master at my multitasking. So not only do I multitask at work, but our phones, our cell phones can do everything, really, but cook our dinner. Now there's like Alexa, it turns on, it opens our garage door when we're blocks away. Our cars can do, we are masters at multitasking. And one of the things about multitasking is it keeps us away from thinking, from turning within, to doing all the things. We need to rest. We need to rejuvenate. We need to allow our soul really to catch up with our body. So again, what can we do to rest? Meditate is good. Reflect is good. Listening to uplifting music is good. Letting ourselves be taken away. Just sitting and contemplating and breathing deep. It's personal to each one of us. But we need to do these things, I'm going to suggest, that we do a daily practice. There's a word D starting with daily for a reason. It's not just occasional practice. Enduring crisis practice. Once a week practice. Daily practice. It could be a quickie morning routine. It could be a gratitude practice when you wake up, when you go to sleep at night, right? And so meditation. I have that. All right. So we need to rest. We need to have a daily practice. The second D, as you can see, is divine principle. Now, we've all heard the expression we're spiritual beings having a human experience. But if you read my, interpretation, it's that we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience governed by our use of spiritual law. Spirit, spirit, spirit. Because to put it another way, like I like to put it, there's only one thing, and that one thing is God. And that one thing is everywhere, and that one thing is you, and that one thing is me. There's only one. So our human experience is divine. Our human experience is God. Everything is God. So the thing is, if we remember divine principle, the question is, even for me, am I remembering divine principle? So last night at the concert, this was one of the things I was bringing up. There's only one thing, and it's God, and it's through me, and it's through the person on the phone, and I'm lifting, and getting it to a sense of, I dreamed a dream of a perfect world. I dreamed a dream where I am so aware that of my connection of the divine within me, that's all I need. From that, everything is possible. From that, there is never a need to worry. From that comes contentment, comes joy, comes freedom, comes wholeness, comes health. Because there's nothing outside of the one. There isn't me and health out there. There isn't me and happiness. I don't need to chase after some external, whatever it is that we think that is a goal, that's going to bring us happiness, that's going to bring us joy, that's going to bring us health, that's going to bring us delight, that's going to bring us contentment. When I say we, I say this every time. I really mean me, right? But, I want to include us all. So, I think, well, when this happens, then, wrong. This has to happen first. Then the external happens. I need to be happy first. I need to be in love with myself first. I need to know that God is right where I am first. I need to remember that God is good all the time, 24/7, 365 first. And then we'll see what happens. So in Mexico City, around Christmas time, very common practice to see piñatas all around. Well, so there's some nice metaphysical interpretation of this. So the piñatas represent our demons, which is our false beliefs. And when we can swing at those false beliefs and crack them open and destroy them and obliterate them, the goodies, the sweetness, the joy, the happiness, the contentment, the exhilaration fall out. And we're blindfolded because guess what? First of all, we don't really even sometimes know. Sometimes we don't know. We're not even aware of what our false beliefs are. We may not know when they spring up, and they're not even real. Right? So what I say, you know, in the midst of whatever's going on, keep swinging. Keep swinging. Right? Okay. So when we can use our talents, our skills, our purpose, what we're passionate about, and it's not like, oh, I have to go on some journey. I was like this. I can't tell you for how many years. So way before I had kids, you know, and I would say to the husband, what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? You know, his response, oh, you think too much. He wasn't concerned. He was just, and I was thinking too much, right? But we have I have this need, this longing, this urge that I am created for more. I didn't know what that more was, and I was looking everywhere for the answer. Well, you know, I'm not ever going to find the answer out there in this book and that. I thought I was. But it just prevented me to get in touch, right, with who I am. But here's a clue. Whatever we're good at, whatever we love to do, if you could sit in a library reading a cookbook forever, that's your purpose. Something with cooking, something with food and taste, maybe presentation. Whatever lights you up, do that. Do that. We spend a lot of time, you know, in school and maybe our parents, and like whatever we're not good at, oh, let's work on that.
Yeah.
You're not good at math, let's get you a math tutor and just get you really good at math. You know, forget that you're bad at it, you're never going to be good at it. Boy, you're really good at painting. But, oh, you know, no, so we kind of have it backwards. If you're good at painting, paint. That's your talent, that's your passion, that's your purpose, that's your way in. That's the way that the divine spirit, God, has breathed its gift into you. Do enough math just to get by, or if you want to give, but don't do it because you're trying to let, there's plenty of other people that are great in math that would love to help you balance your checkbook, right? And you'd probably be happy to pay them to do it. Let them do it. Instead of you getting all in turmoil, and then what happens? We're in turmoil, God is good, so we get more turmoil, and then you get the idea. Okay. We gotta move on, because, you know. So the third D is to decide. So, decide. So we have to decide. Decide not, so there's a difference between, well, let me read this first. Charles Fillmore. Pronounce every experience good and of God, and by that mental attitude you will call forth only the good. What seemed error will disappear, and only the good can remain. This is the law. So that's what I want to stipulate. This is the law, and no one can break it. So when we're deciding, we are initiating the law. The problem is, so often we don't really decide. We hope, we wish. It's not deciding. How many of us have heard the phrase, maybe even lived by the phrase, you don't have to raise your hand, I'll raise your hand. Hope for the best, but expect
The worst.
the worst. Now, on an energy scale, we have a scale out here. Hope, expect. Which one is going to weigh more? Which one has more power? Which one has more oomph? Expectation. So we're hoping for the best. We're hoping that our dreams come true. We're hoping our heart, you know, Cinderella. A dream is a wish your heart made, right? We're hoping Prince Charming is going to come. But we're expecting that frog. We're expecting the stepmothers. We're expecting to be working our fingers to the bone. Right? What's going to happen? Hope is, huh? Right. So we need to actually decide. Let's make a choice. Let's decide. We can decide every day how our day is going to look. Today I choose. Today I decide to remember my skills and talents. Today I decide to take one small step in the direction of my dreams. Today I decide to eat a little more healthy. Tomorrow may be different, but today I'm deciding. I'm not hoping, well, I'm hoping I'm not going to want to swing my Jack in the Box today. I'm hoping that by the time I get to church, those cookies will not be calling my name. Because I expect that they will be. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, because I love sugar. So, but I could decide, saying, this is it. I'm deciding. They're not calling my name. I'm going to not. It's easy but we have to make a choice. We have to make a decision. So we're deciding every day. So our inner world, as we know, I don't even know it, reflects our outer world, right? Our inner world reflects our outer world. What are we thinking? What are we choosing? How are we rewriting our future? What are we doing every day so that we're not living half-lived lives? It's a day-by-day, moment-by-moment, we are rewriting our next moment based on how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're connecting, how we're emotionalizing, vibrating, visualizing. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, in this moment. Because what happens is we give up too soon. Right? If we knew that our goal, whatever that might be, doesn't matter what it is, if we knew it was like right here, we don't see it yet, right? We're not seeing it yet, but it's like right here. Here's my next slide. Would we give up? We can't see it. But if we're deciding, if we're choosing what we want, if we're in alignment with our passion, those things that juice us up, and we don't see results, it's okay. Maybe consciously or subconsciously, we might not be there yet. We might not be a match. But we don't want to give up when we're inches, maybe micrometers away from what it is that we want. We need to dream that dream and not hope that it is available. Because God knows nothing of God. God is. God does. God can do. With God, all things are possible. Nothing is impossible. Only impossible if we think it's impossible. And we visualize and we judge with our eyes. And our eyes see a lot of stuff. And I used to say this, and I forget. I need to say it to myself. If my brain is thinking it, it's probably wrong. I mean, absolutely, right? Because I'm just a judging city. I'm just, gray hair, brown hair. It's not that that's not true, but we're always assessing. We're always comparing. This is the humanness, and that's great. But we have to not lose sight of our divine principle, that where we are and what we are and what I am and what you are is the totality of the one. The perfection, the wholeness, the possibility, the excitement, the grandeur, the opulence and the abundance and the joy and the harmony and the health of the divine is right where we are, 100%, always. We have to open up and decide that we're going to open up to that in a greater way. So we've got to live our dreams. So what is the vision for your life? What values do you stand for, right? What do you want to accomplish? How big are you willing to be? How bright are you willing to shine? What are your dreams? How is it with your soul? How is it with your soul? So I'm going to read this quote by Elizabeth Gilbert. Long one, but it's a good one. She says this, and she was the author of this. Every woman has read this book, I think. I was thinking today about all the other paths that I did not take in life, no matter how shiny and appealing they may have looked. I've had the possibility of living so many different kinds of life that could have been a dream for someone else. I never chose those lives. I never lived the dreams that other people wanted for themselves, nor have I lived the dreams that other people have wanted for me. I never took the opportunities that were offered to me after the success of Eat, Pray, Love, to have a TV show of my own, because that's somebody else's dream. I never took a good, steady job teaching or writing at a nice college, because that was somebody else's dream. I didn't remain in Bali or Rome, gorgeous as those places are, because that's somebody else's dream. I turned down 99% of the invitations I get to attend those fancy parties and stellar gathering, because that's somebody else's dream. I sold my big, beautiful house and its fabulous gardens and lovely library because one day I looked around at that gorgeous home and realized this is somebody else's dream. I never hired a team of personal assistants and staff and consultants to help me grow my brand because that's somebody else's dream. I know what makes me come to life, working on my books. Knowing what makes me come to life has helped me to distinguish between my dreams and the dreams of others. So that's what I'm inviting for each one of us today. To not live out somebody else's dreams. I know I've done that often. You know, first my dad's dreams, then husband's dreams. And I forgot through all of this time to ask, Janet, what are your dreams? And you reach a certain age and all those things early on, what's the meaning of life? Oh, you think too much. So my way of not only that, but trying to find out, what are my dreams? What is it that I want? One of my dreams is to be the self-professed queen of fist bumping, right? So what are your dreams? What makes you come alive? What's going to make you shine? How can you kindle that flame of the divine that is within you? How can you kindle that even more? And if opportunities come your way, you can ask, is this going to enliven me? Is this going to make my spark be brighter? Is this going to at least get me on the pathway of the fist pump? Or is it going to take me away from the thing that enlivens me? No matter how glorious and wonderful it sounds, we need to learn to distinguish and say no to somebody else's dreams so that we can say yes to our own, so that we can rewrite our future moment by moment by moment to remember the 3 Ds. Daily practice, divine principle, and decide. Decide to say yes to ourselves, to our dreams, to our health, to feeding our soul, to encouraging our life, to including everyone, to remembering that right where we are, God is, that God is good all the time, that we are good all the time, regardless if that phone call turns out to be a nightmare, right? It's still, the divine is right there if I choose to see it. If I choose to see that there's a gift there, the gift is there. And as we do that, we are completely opening our hearts and minds to our infinite possibilities. So we can say yes to that, and so it is.